What's up everyone, and welcome back. And yes, before you even ask, the studio looks different. We moved. New space, new setup, same obsession with tech that lives way too close to our faces. And that's actually perfect for today's video because this one has been a long time coming. We're finally talking about the Meta Ray-Ban Smart Glasses Gen 2. Not as a first impression, not as a I've had them for a week kind of review, but after actually living with them for months. Not babying them. Not treating them like a fragile gadget. Just using them like normal glasses, every single day. And if you're here right now, there's a good chance you're in one of two camps. Either you already own a pair and you're wondering, am I missing something? Is everyone else having a better experience than me? Or you're thinking about buying them, maybe for yourself, maybe as a gift, and you're trying to figure out if these are genuinely useful or just another piece of tech that looks cool on YouTube and then lives in a drawer. So let's slow this down and really talk through it. No hype, no buzzwords. Just real-world usage, the good parts, the annoying parts, and the stuff nobody really explains until it's too late. And trust me, some of the most important things about these glasses have nothing to do with specs at all. Now, to understand why Gen 2 even exists, we have to rewind just a little. I've owned the Gen 1 Ray-Ban Meta glasses for almost 2 years. That's a long time in tech years. Long enough for the novelty to wear off, long enough for batteries to age, and long enough to see what actually sticks and what fades away once. The excitement is gone, so when Gen 2 came out, I didn't rush. I didn't pre-order on day one. I waited because I wanted to know something very specific. Is this actually an upgrade, or is it the same thing with a shinier box? And here's the honest answer right from the start, because I don't want to tease this unnecessarily. Gen 2 is an upgrade, but it's not a dramatic one. If you're expecting some night and day transformation, that's not what this is. And that's actually important, because it changes who these glasses are really for. If you're trying to save some money, Gen 1 is still a very real option. You can usually find them for about $100 less than Gen 2. And internally, they're more similar than different. The biggest changes come down to battery life and camera quality. And even then, those changes matter more in specific situations than in everyday casual use. We'll get into that slowly, because the context really matters here. Now let me tell you why I personally bought these in the first place. Because that decision colors everything about how I use them. I'm into filming. I do videography. I do client work. And one of the hardest things to capture consistently is behind-the-scenes footage. The stuff that happens naturally, without stopping, without setting up another camera, without ruining the moment. Pulling out a phone kills the vibe. Setting up a second camera takes time. And wearing a GoPro on your head just makes you look like you're wearing a GoPro on your head. What I wanted was something seamless. Something I could forget about. Something that let me capture moments from my point of view without announcing to the world that I was filming. And that's where these glasses immediately stand out, because physically, they don't feel like tech. They feel like glasses, and this is where Ray-Ban's involvement really matters. These aren't tech glasses with a fashion logo slapped on later. They're Ray-Ban frames first. Wafer style, classic shape, the kind of glasses people have been wearing for decades. Meta didn't try to reinvent the look. They didn't try to make these futuristic or flashy. They made them blend in. And that decision affects everything about how comfortable they are to wear and how people react around you. Most people don't notice them. Seriously. Unless they already know what they're looking at, where they see the small camera lenses up close. These pass as normal glasses. I've worn them into cafes, meetings, shops, public transport, and nobody reacts. And when someone does notice, it's usually not fear or suspicion, it's curiosity. Wait, are those the smart glasses? That's the reaction.
Record a quick clip of the skyline and
let's talk
remind
about
me
the
to
camera,
send it to
because
the
that's
team.
what everyone wants to know about first. The most obvious feature, the thing that gets all the attention, and honestly, the reason most people buy these in the first place. On Gen 2, the camera records add up to 3K. That's an official number. And yes, it sounds impressive. But there's nuance here. The camera sits slightly to the side of your eye, not directly in the center. That means Meta uses software to crop and adjust the image depending on what's happening. If you're wearing a hat and it dips into the frame, the glasses automatically crop to remove it. That's helpful. but it also slightly reduces
The
quality.
morning run was great.
You can turn that feature off,
I'm
but
almost
then
at
you
the
risk
meeting point.
capturing your
I'll
own
share the
brim
photos
in
from
the
the park
shot.
later tonight.
It's a trade-off. What matters more than resolution,
We are back in the park
though,
and
is
look at
perspective.
this beautiful day.
These glasses capture
I'm
what you're
filming
looking at.
completely hands-free
Not
right
what your phone is
now
pointed
with
at,
the new
not a
Ray-Bans.
staged angle.
That story always
Your actual
gets me.
point of view,
Hold on, let me
and
grab
that
this
changes
picture
how
real quick.
footage feels.
You
It's
better
more
send that
natural,
to me later.
more immersive. When I look back at clips I've recorded, it feels like I'm reliving that moment, not watching it from the outside. There's also something else people overlook: the indicator light. There's a small LED that turns on whenever you're recording. This is not optional. You can't fully disable it. If you cover it, the glasses detect that and stop recording. Meta has been very deliberate about this, and whether you like it or not, it matters for social trust.
But I thought you
People can
brought the
see when you're
sweets."
recording. That reduces awkwardness, but it also means these are not stealth cameras. That's part of the deal. Now, recording itself is controlled in two ways. There's a physical shutter button on the frame. Press once, it takes a photo. Hold it down, it starts recording video. The default video length is 1 minute, but you can change that in the app. You can go up to 3 minutes at full quality. If you lower the resolution to 1080p, you can record up to 5 minutes at a time.
Yes,
That
I'm reviewing
flexibility
the
is
report
useful,
now. The
especially
projections look solid,
if you're
and we should
filming
move
longer
forward with the
moments
proposal
without
as
interruption.
discussed.
But here's where some people get disappointed. And this is important to say clearly. All video is vertical, always. These glasses are not designed for traditional horizontal YouTube videos. They're built for stories, reels, shorts, and social media formats. Yes, you can crop 3K vertical footage into 16:9, but you're throwing away resolution when you do that. It works in a pinch, but it's not ideal. If your primary goal is long-form YouTube content, you need to understand that going in. Now here's something that surprised me, and this leads perfectly into the next part. I bought these for the camera, but I ended up using them even more. For something else. Something I didn't expect to rely on daily. And once you experience it, it's really hard to go back, because the moment you realize these are not just glasses with a camera, the entire product starts to feel very different.
Traffic was crazy,
And
but
that shift
I am
happens
so
the
glad
first
to be
time you
here.
start using the audio. But how good can tiny speakers and glasses really be? And what happens when you take them into the real world, where cars, people, and noise don't politely step out of the way? That's where things start to get interesting and sometimes a little frustrating. And that's exactly what we're getting into next. The first time I really relied on the audio in the Meta Ray-Ban Smart Glasses Gen 2, it wasn't planned. I didn't sit down thinking, today I'm testing the speakers. It just happened. I was heading out for a walk, phone in my pocket, regular earbuds still charging on my desk. And I thought, okay, let me just connect the glasses and see what happens. No expectations, and that's exactly why it stuck. Because the audio experience here isn't about replacing headphones. It's not trying to beat earbuds or over-ear headphones. It's doing something different entirely. These speakers sit right above your ears, built into the arms of the glasses, and instead of pushing sound directly into your ear canal, they sort of float the sound toward your ears. Think of it like someone quietly talking to you from just a few inches away. It's personal, but not sealed off from the world. And that detail changes everything about how you use them. When you start playing music, the first thing you notice isn't bass or loudness, it's awareness. You can still hear cars passing by. You can still hear footsteps behind you. If someone says your name, you hear it instantly. For a 10-year-old, the simplest way to explain it is this: it's like having background music in a movie scene, but you're still inside the scene. For adults, especially anyone who's ever walked outside with noise-canceling earbuds and felt slightly unsafe, this feels surprisingly reassuring. Now, before you get excited and think these are secretly high-end speakers hiding in glasses, let me slow you down a bit. The audio quality is good for what it is,
I
but it
swear, I
has
thought he
limits.
was serious until he pulled out
Indoors,
the rubber
at moderate
chicken.
volume,
Wait,
it's
he
clear.
actually
Voices
did
and
that? I cannot
podcasts
believe
sound
it.
natural. Phone calls are easy to follow. Music sounds balanced enough to enjoy casually. But step into a busy street, add traffic noise, wind, or construction sounds, and you'll start to notice that you can't crank the volume endlessly. There's a ceiling. And that ceiling exists on purpose. That's because these glasses aren't trying to isolate you. They're built to coexist with your surroundings.
Hey everyone,
And this
welcome
design
back to the
choice has a
channel.
downside
We are
and an
out here
upside,
in the park
depending on
today,
how you look at
filming
it.
completely
The downside is
hands-free with
obvious.
the new
If you
Meta
want deep
glasses.
immersion, these aren't it. The upside is that they quietly become part of your routine without demanding attention. And that's where things start to feel different compared to traditional wearables. Here's a real moment that made it click for me. I was listening to a podcast while grocery shopping. Cart rolling, people chatting around me. Normally, I would either pause the audio every few seconds or miss half of what was being said. With the glasses, I could listen and still talk to the cashier without pulling anything out of my ears. No awkward, sorry, let me pause this. It's subtle, but once you experience that, it's hard to unsee the convenience. Now let's talk about phone calls, because this is where skepticism really kicks in for most people. How can glasses replace a headset? That's the question. And again, they don't replace one. They just handle everyday calls better than you'd expect. The microphones are built into the frame, and there's more than one. Meta officially confirms this as a beamforming microphone system, which sounds fancy, but here's what it means in real life. The glasses focus on your voice and try to reduce noise around you. It's not magic. If you're standing next to a loud road, the other person will still hear traffic.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I
in normal
appreciate you
environments,
confirming that.
like walking,
We are
sitting at
all
home,
set for the
or even
launch
inside
next quarter.
a cafe, calls are surprisingly
And then he
clear.
realized the dog had
I've
eaten
taken
the whole
calls
thing.
while walking, while cooking, while pacing around my room,
No way,
phone
that is
untouched.
hilarious.
And every single time the other person knew I was on some kind of headset, but they couldn't tell it was.
To behold.
Glasses.
A testament
That alone
to
is
the
kind of
ocean's
wild
beauty.
when you think about it. Now here's where things get
Please
even more
proceed straight
interesting
ahead.
and also more complicated.
In
Because
50
audio
meters,
isn't just about
veer
playing
right
music or
towards the building
calls.
entrance.
It's also how you
The
interact
new
with
Meta
the system
Ray-Ban
itself.
smart glasses integrate
Yes,
seamlessly
these glasses
into
have voice
any clean
interaction.
setup,
And
offering
no,
a
I'm not
glimpse
going to
into
hype
the
this up
future of
beyond what it
connected
actually
tech.
does. Meta officially supports voice commands through their assistant. You can ask it to take a photo, record a video, check the battery, control playback, and do basic tasks like calling someone or sending messages, depending on your phone and region. The important thing here is consistency. When the glasses are connected properly, voice commands work smoothly. You say the wake phrase, you give a command, and the glasses respond through the speakers. It feels like talking to a helpful assistant, sitting on your shoulder. But when the connection hiccups, which does happen occasionally, you feel it instantly. Commands might take a second longer. Sometimes you repeat yourself. It's not perfect, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. But here's the twist. Even with those imperfections, you still end up using it more than you expect. Because it's hands-free, because your phone stays in your pocket, and because once your brain adjusts to speaking instead of tapping, it feels oddly natural. Now let me pause you right here because this is where most reviews jump straight into smart features and forget something critical. All of this only works if the glasses are comfortable enough to wear for hours. Audio doesn't matter if your head hurts. Cameras don't matter if the frames slide down your nose. So let's talk about comfort and wearability, because this is where Gen 2 quietly improves things, and where a lot of people don't realize what changed unless they've worn both generations back to back. The weight distribution is better. Not dramatically lighter on paper, but noticeably balanced in use. The arms feel slightly more refined. Pressure points around the ears are reduced. After a full day of wearing them, I don't feel that urge to take them off the moment I get home.
Can't just walk away like
And that's something Gen 1 didn't always get right for everyone. Now these
is
are still
definitely going
smart
on my
glasses.
story.
You feel them more than standard glasses. The frame is thicker, the arms are heavier, and if you're used to ultra-thin eyewear, there's an adjustment
So then I
period.
told him,
But
"That's not
after a few
squirrel,
days,
that's my
your brain
landlord."
recalibrates, and they stop feeling like
Wait, he
tech
actually
and start
believed
feeling
you?
like
For a second,
just
yeah.
glasses. And that's dangerous in a good way. Because the moment you forget you're wearing tech, that's when you start relying on it without thinking. That's when you start capturing moments without planning. That's when you start answering calls without checking your phone. But what happens when
The
you
integration
combine all of
AI
this with
into these
real
smart
daily
glasses
routines?
is changing how we interact
Workdays,
with the digital world.
family outings,
Absolutely, the real-time
travel,
translation
moments
feature
where
is a
battery
game
life
changer.
actually matters and reliability stops being theoretical. Because here's the thing, nobody tells you up front. The biggest limitation of these glasses isn't the camera, or the audio, or even the assistant. It's how long they can keep up with you before they need a break. And once you notice it, you can't ignore it. So next, we need to talk about battery life. Not numbers on a box. Real usage. Real days, real compromises. And what happens when you push these glasses just a little harder than they expect. That's where the story takes a very honest turn. So up until now, we've talked about the physical side of these glasses, the cameras, the audio, the battery, the controls,
And then
all
she
of that.
completely missed the turn.
But
It
this
was
is where
hilarious.
things get really interesting
Wait,
because
did
the
she
Ray-Ban Meta
really?
glasses aren't just
You
cameras
always have the best stories.
or open-ear headphones. The thing that really separates them from anything else I've used is the Meta AI integration. Everything runs through the Meta View app, which is basically the control center for these glasses. That's where you manage settings, downloads, permissions, connected apps, firmware updates, all of it. And Meta has clearly been pushing AI hard over the last year, because these glasses feel like one of their main AI products. You activate the assistant just by saying, "Hey Meta," and that's when the glasses basically turn into a wearable AI assistant.
I can't believe you actually
Now,
said that.
I'll be
I know,
honest right
right?
away,
It was
Meta AI
hilarious.
is not as powerful as
You should come here again
ChatGPT or
tomorrow.
Gemini yet. If you're expecting deep,
can't
complex
believe you actually said
conversations
that.
or
I
super
know, right?
advanced
It was
reasoning,
hilarious.
it's not quite there.
You should come here again
But
tomorrow.
for everyday use, it actually works pretty well. You can ask it basic questions. Quick facts, reminders, timers, all the stuff you expect. But where it gets more interesting is when it starts using the camera. You can literally ask it things like, "Hey Meta, what am I looking at?" And it will take a photo, analyze it, and then tell you what it thinks it sees. I've tested this quite a bit, especially while traveling. Sometimes it's spot on. It'll correctly identify a building, an object, or a sign. Other times, it's a bit hit or miss. I'd say maybe 60 to 70% accurate right now. So it's cool, but I wouldn't rely on it for anything critical. That said, Meta has been updating these glasses constantly. Firmware updates come pretty frequently, and every time they do, things improve slightly. So this feels like one of those products that genuinely gets better the longer you own it. One feature I didn't expect to use as much as I do is Live AI. With Live AI enabled, you don't have to keep saying, "Hey Meta," before every question. It stays active, listens, remembers a bit of context, and responds more like a conversation.
Take a video.
Afterward, you can actually go back into the app and review the entire conversation, just like you would with any chat-based AI. You can also ask
I
it
know,
to
these glasses are great.
take notes,
Okay,
save
I'm looking at the
reminders,
Frosted
or remind
Flakes
you
right
later
now.
about things, which
Do we
sounds
need 2
small,
boxes?
but when your hands are busy, it's actually incredibly useful. There's also an accessibility side to this that I think doesn't get talked about enough. Meta added integration with Be My Eyes, which is huge for people with vision impairments. The glasses can connect you to a real volunteer who sees exactly what you're seeing through the camera and talks you through it using the speakers. That's honestly an incredible use of this technology. Even without Be My Eyes, you can ask the glasses to read text aloud, describe what's in front of you, or help navigate spaces like train stations or airports. I actually have a friend with vision issues, and he said these glasses made a noticeable difference when traveling. Another feature that sounds futuristic but actually works surprisingly well is live translation. You can set the glasses to translate a language, say French to English, and when someone speaks to you in French, the translation plays directly into your ears. There is a
The
slight
morning run
delay,
was
and
great.
it can feel a bit
Yeah,
awkward
I'm almost
at
at the
first,
meeting
especially
point.
if you understand
I'll
a
share
little
the
of the
photos from the park
language.
later tonight.
Already. You hear the
We are
original
back
speech,
in the park
then a
and look
second
at
later
this
the
beautiful
translation
day.
comes in.
I'm
But in
filming
situations
completely
where you're
hands-free right
completely
now
lost,
with the new
it's
Ray-Bans.
incredibly helpful.
That story
When you
always
reply, the
gets me.
glasses
Hold on,
don't
let me
speak
grab
the
this picture
translation
real
out
quick.
loud.
You
Instead,
better
the
send that to
translated
me later.
text appears in the app on your phone, which you can then show to the other person. It's not perfect, but it's absolutely usable in real-world situations. Right now, the language selection is limited. Things like French, Spanish, Italian, German. But knowing Meta, this will almost definitely expand that. Let's
Hey
talk
everyone, we are testing
about
the
apps
new
and
Meta Ray-Bans
integrations,
today. The camera
because this
quality
is one area
absolutely
where things are
stunning in
both
this
impressive
natural light.
and
I'm
frustrating.
seriously
The
impressed
glasses
with the
work with
footage stability.
Spotify,
And then he
Apple
said,
Music,
"But
and
I
Amazon
thought you
Music.
brought the sweets."
Voice control works great for those.
Can
You can say
believe
things
it?
like, "Hey Meta, play my playlist," or "skip this song," and it just works. But, and this is a big one for me, there's still no YouTube Music support. And that's annoying, because I use YouTube Music daily. So if I want to change songs, I usually have to pull my phone out or use Siri instead, which kind of defeats the point. Calendar integration has improved recently. You can now connect Google Calendar and Outlook, which means you can ask Meta to add events or reminders.
morning. Yes,
You still
I'm
can't edit
reviewing the
events
report
very
now.
well,
The
but
projections
just
look
being able to
solid,
add
and
things
we should move
hands-free
forward with the
is
proposal
nice.
as discussed.
There's also integration with Apple Health, Garmin, and Strava, especially useful with the Oakley Meta glasses, which are more sport-focused. You can ask questions about past workouts, distances, or pace, and the AI pulls that data in. One of my favorite features, and one I use way more than I expected, is WhatsApp video calling. When you're on a WhatsApp video call, you can switch the camera feed from your phone to your glasses. The other person literally sees what you are seeing. From your point of view, I've used this while traveling, while walking through cool locations, even just to show someone something quickly. It feels way more natural than flipping your phone. Camera around. Of course, you need a decent internet connection, but when it works, it's genuinely impressive. And finally, there's the whole hands-free recording aspect. You don't have to touch the glasses
I
at
know,
all.
traffic was
You
crazy,
can just say,
but I am so
"Hey
glad
Meta,
to be
start
here."
recording," and it starts. Stop recording, and it stops. That's it. For behind-the-scenes content, first-person perspective shots, or just capturing moments without pulling your phone out, this is where these glasses shine. It feels natural, fast, and frictionless. And yes, there's always a recording light. People around you can see it. You can't easily cover it or disable it, which I actually think is a good thing from a privacy standpoint. Some people still feel weird when they see the glasses, but once you explain the light, most are fine with it. Alright, so after talking about the hardware, the camera, the audio, the controls, the AI features, and all the integrations, let's bring this back down to earth and talk about what it's actually like to live with these glasses long term. I've been using the Ray-Ban Meta glasses Gen 2 daily for about 3 months now. And before that, I used the Gen 1 for nearly 2 years. And that long-term perspective really changes how you look at a product like this. First, let's talk about durability and build quality. These are still, at the end of the day, plastic glasses. They feel solid, but if you look closely, especially under good lighting, you can see the seams where the plastic parts are fused together. It's not bad, but for the price, you might expect something a little more premium up close. That said, they've held up well. No cracks, no loose parts, no weird creaks. The matte black finish does pick up fingerprints pretty easily. And yeah, you'll be wiping them down more than normal glasses. But structurally, they've been reliable. The weight is another thing that still impresses me. Even after wearing them for hours, they don't feel heavy. If you handed these to someone without telling them they were smart glasses, most people would assume they're just regular wayfarers, and honestly, that's one of their biggest strengths. Now, let's address one of the biggest concerns people have, battery life over time.
Wait, he
Out of the
actually
box,
did that?
Meta
I
claims
cannot
around
believe
8
it.
hours of usage. In the real world, especially if you're using the camera, AI, and music regularly, it's closer to 4 to 5 hours. That's been my consistent experience. The real issue isn't just daily battery life, it's battery degradation. The batteries in both the glasses and the charging case are not replaceable. And I know from experience with the Gen 1 that after about 2 years, the battery life noticeably drops. My Gen 1 pair got to the point where I was barely getting an hour of use. That's honestly the biggest downside of this entire product. These are expensive glasses, and once the battery starts going, you don't have many options. You can still use them as regular glasses, sure, but you lose most of what makes them special. Meta has improved battery life in Gen 2, so hopefully they last longer. But this is something you should 100% consider before buying. The charging case itself is great. Premium feel, solid hinge, good battery capacity, but it is bulky. It doesn't compress or fold down, so if you want extra battery while you're out, you need to carry it with you. And that's not always convenient. A lot of people also don't realize there's a physical power switch on the inside of the frame. If you're wearing the glasses but not using them, turning them off can save quite a bit of battery. That small detail actually makes a difference day to day. Now let's talk about social reactions, because this is something you don't fully understand until you wear these in public. Most people don't notice at all, but the people who do, they're immediately curious. Are those the Meta glasses? Are you recording right now? How do those work? Some people are excited. Some people are skeptical. A few are clearly uncomfortable. The recording light helps a lot with this.
Yes, absolutely.
Once you explain that the light is on
confirming
whenever
that.
you're filming,
We are
people
all
generally
set
relax.
For the launch next
But
quarter.
you do have to be prepared for those conversations.
And then he realized the dog
These are
had eaten
not
the whole
invisible
thing.
in a social sense, even though physically they look normal.
No way.
Now the
that
big
is
question,
hilarious.
who are these actually for? If you're someone who
The
loves
vibrant
tech,
colors
enjoys
of the
trying
reef
new
are
gadgets,
truly a
and
sight
wants
to
to
behold,
experience where
a
wearables are
testament
heading,
to the ocean's
you'll probably
beauty.
love these. If you're a creator,
Please proceed
filmmaker,
straight
or
ahead.
content maker, these are
In
genuinely
50
useful.
meters, veer
The
right
ability
towards the
to
building entrance.
Capture moments
The
hands-free
new Meta
from
Ray-Ban
your
smart
perspective
glasses integrate
without
seamlessly
pulling out
into
your
any
phone.
clean
That's
setup,
powerful.
offering a
I
glimpse
use them
into the
constantly
future of
for behind-the-scenes
connected
shots. If you listen to music or podcasts daily and like staying aware of your surroundings, these replace headphones in a really natural way. If you travel a lot, features like translation, quick photos, and WhatsApp POV video calls are incredibly convenient. But if you're someone who just wants the best camera quality, or long battery life, or perfect AI, these probably aren't for you yet. This is still an early stage product in the bigger picture. It's good, sometimes great, but it's not perfect. Now, the real question everyone asks me, would I buy them again? Yes, absolutely, despite the flaws, despite the battery concerns. Despite the limitations, I use these every single day, and that's not something I can say about most tech products. They've become part of my routine, the same way headphones or a smartwatch do. And that, to me, says everything. If you're considering buying them, I'd also say this. Gen 1 is still a solid option if you want to save money. You lose a bit of battery and camera quality, but the core experience is very similar. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing, drop a comment, and let me know what you want to see next. Comparisons, updates, or long-term follow-ups. I'll see you in the next one.